You buy EOS on the Ethereum chain. There's an ERC20 smart contract, one of these coin distribution things, blah, blah, blah. And you go out there and you buy it in an auction process which is ongoing. There's an auction every 23 hours. And when that shuts down, another one starts up. And you get to buy 2 million tokens, I think, every 23 hours. And the price depends on how many people put how much Ethereum in there. So the price is going up and down, up and down. Once that auction's finished, the Ethereum is then released to the registered owner. You have to do a registration process. Sorry, the EOS in Ethereum is released. So that stuff can then go across to exchanges. There are some exchanges buying and selling. However, all of that is just a placeholder token. On June the 1st, the auctions run out. They hit the brick wall and they stop. At that point, there's a little bit of a delay, and then bang, the Ethereum contract shuts down. Then there is a set of names or keys inside the Ethereum contract. Everybody who owns a piece of this action, a piece of this token, has a key that's registered into there. That whole list gets dumped, put into the source code, and the source code gets released. At that point, the EOS and Ethereum has disappeared because it stopped moving. It's no longer useful if it can't move. But the chain doesn't exist. And here's where it gets kind of politically sensitive, a bit tricky. Block One is a software company, writes software, puts it into GitHub, pushes a button to say it's in release. That's kind of all it does. At that point, it stops. Block One doesn't start up the chain. The chain is for the community. So you guys and all the people, there's 30,000 on the community list, and there's 1,500 on the governance list, and there's 1,500 on the developers list. You guys start up the chain. So what's going to happen is, and it's still a work in progress, on something like June the 2nd or thereabouts, all of the potential block producers will get together and start chatting and say, let's do it. 21 block producers will get together and make a set of block producers such that they can get a chain up and going with the software, and then they'll rise up and say, we're it. And so might a bunch of others. And then there'll be this bouncing back and forth until we say, we being everybody in the community says, looks like those guys are the ones. They have the strength. They've been going for X period of time. I, as a DApp producer, stand up and say, I'm putting my DApp over there. And somebody else in exchange might pop up and say, yeah, I'm recognizing that as EOS. And there'll be this sort of sudden rush to one chain. Now, we'd like that to happen in a sort of orderly process, but we can't make it happen. So we have a bit of an exciting time going to happen on June the 2nd thereafter, whereby multiple people are going to be competing to become the one chain. Now, others that don't become the one chain will actually still be running, and they'll purpose themselves to different things or whatever. It's not a complete loss. But what the community wants is one chain. The problem is we don't have the leadership, Block One, to make that one chain. So we have to throw it to the community and say, guys, this is your chance. Make it happen. At some point, everybody will rush in and say, those are the ones, and those tokens will become valuable. The other tokens won't be valuable, because there'll be a whole bunch of big builders of dApps that agree amongst themselves, that's where we're going. And we need all the community there, so that's the only place we're going. And then people will recover their tokens and carry on. During that process, the current thinking is there'll be a mini constitution. The mini constitution will be that long. It'll be basically saying, this is the blockchain, arbitration applies, don't be violent to each other, get on with it, but the EOS has no meaning.
Something about inflation and how many block producers and stuff like that.
21 block producers, forget inflation. Maybe not even inflation. And the point will be, it'll get the chain up in a non-valuable state. because the EOS won't be recognized. But one thing will be recognized, the referendum. And the referendum will be set such that the first real constitution will be voted upon. So we'll see something like 2 or 3 constitutions proposed. And then everybody will get in there and vote on their constitution. The constitution is going to be what gives EOS its value, both in a token sense and a contract sense. So the constitution is the thing that creates the rights for you to hold property. You hold property because I grant you the right to hold property. You grant me the right to hold property, and therefore I hold the right to have property. If you think about Bitcoin, what right do you hold? You got some numbers. I can sell you some numbers. I like numbers. I've got lots of them. But it's not really property unless we have a shared understanding of what it is. The Constitution of EOS is going to state what is property. And it's going to state that you guys create the property by giving each other the right to hold these numbers as property. And that gives EOS its value, its actual serious value, which can then go to arbitration. Otherwise, with Bitcoin, what are you saying? You lost some numbers. You found them valuable, but they're just numbers. No problem. So there's going to be a process by which we're going to look at the Constitution and bring it from a very simple, almost nonsense sense to a real document, a living document. And during all this, your block producers are going to be processing messages back and forth.